On today's episode of the Apex, the podcast, we talked to TSM Girl. It was an awesome interview. I really wish I could have been a part of it. I felt so bad that I missed out on this one because I was so excited to meet Girl, but the boys carried this interview. It was awesome. It was a great interview with TSM Girl. They talk about everything under the sun, her initiation into Apex, her initiation into gaming, and all things Girl. Then the boys also talk about Realm GG on the other side of the interview. They talk about what Realm GG is. Of course, if you don't know exactly what I'm talking about, we will describe it to you, but it's a very cool thing that I think is going to help out a lot of upper echelon players in Apex Legends, and possibly you, could get in on it as well. And then we go through some competitive Apex Reddit questions, as well as some Discord questions, and answer some questions along the way about all of the different things: Apex, competitive Apex, ALGS, all that stuff. It was a great episode all the way through and through, rounded out with the heart to heart. So thank you guys for tuning in. As always, don't forget to leave a review on your way out. And now, without further ado, let's get into the show. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Apex, the podcast. The boys, we are here, sitting down, ready to go, and we have a bunch to talk about, despite the fact that there has not been any ALGS action over the last week. There's still plenty of stuff. We got to talk about Realm GG, which we're going to do after the interview. So if you want to hear our thoughts on all that, wait till after the interview. That's when we're going to throw it in. We also have some major news as far as Enoch and his boys. And then we're going to get into some Reddit questions on the competitive Reddit Apex. But I think we should start first with the big news. Enoch, what's going on?
So the boys BBB have changed their name, and they will be competing in Pro League under a different title, and that is EA Gaming or Elevate Gaming. And I'm incredibly excited, as I had like a decent part in this whole thing coming together. Not to take like too much credit, but you know, we were there, and so it was cool, and it was cool to be able to like be in an organization that would value my opinion on things, like and as serious decisions as this. But they made sure that they knew that like they cared about like what I thought, and they valued like my ability to read the field and make sure that it was the right fit for like what they were looking for out of a pro team. And I couldn't be happier with it all coming together, and with Designful, Zach Mazer, and Chaotic all being a part of E8. I'm incredibly excited for the future, and I'm looking forward to see what these boys will do repping the org.
Yeah, this was some tough news for us to hold on to because it was so exciting. When we found out about it, it was all really cool, and we wanted to tell everybody, but you have to wait. You got to wait. There's deadlines on these things now. But we're just excited to have them a part of the squad, the E8 squad, and I can't wait to see what they do here in the future, because we've got Coach Enoch back there calling the shots. I want to see it. So I'm very excited. Boys, we didn't even introduce ourselves yet. We didn't even say what's up. Finn, how are you doing, my man?
That's funny because we are usually like actually really on top of it. I think we're just going with the flow. I'm great. It's been a super solid week. I am absolutely fried. You might not be able to see it right now, but if you're watching on the live version, you know, the video version, you'll be able to see my face and be like, he's more pink than normal. And so I was helping with an Easter egg hunt. That was fun. And I got fried. I should have put on sunscreen, didn't, but you know, we live, we learn. Enoch, what about you?
It's been good. It's had its ups and downs, and I'm just trying to focus on making sure that I'm enjoying all of it for what it is, because that's like a choice, and I still am not at the point where that's like my default that I just go to, is just being happy about everything, like the good and the like what I would perceive as being bad, even though like I know that it's all happening for my betterment. And so just being more mindful of that as I'm going through these things that have previously controlled or manipulated my emotions in life, and like kind of like taking more control of that and just choosing to just live from a place of inner joy that isn't as affected by silly numbers in multiple different areas.
Yeah. What about you, Wyatt? How was your week?
Yeah, it was good. Got to leave work early and go to one of my best friend's bachelor party. We went to San Diego. Um, I don't remember a lot of the trip, but I know that we went to the beach and we played football and I lost. Not only did I lose in the football game, I lost to the sun and my face hurts and so did my shoulders. We also went and we played paintball and I've never paintballed before. So I showed up in a t-shirt and some jeans and I
Oh
was like, "Oh, I'm
no.
good. I'm totally fine." And there's welts all over my body and it
Gotta
was
at least have a sweatshirt, my guy.
yeah, I
At
had
least.
no clue. And then so I didn't realize how bad it was. Actually, I played my first game. I didn't even get touched. Like I was like, "Oh, okay, this is fun. This is great." And then my teammate who got hit showed me his hand and there was a huge welt and I was like, "What the fuck is that from?" He's like, "Yeah, I got hit." And I was like, "That's what it looks like when you get hit?" He was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Oh my God." And then I was just scared the rest of the time. And I finally did get hit in game 3. I think we played 5 games. I finally got hit because I was basically just hiding. I was like, "Dude, I do not want to get a fucking welt like that, dude." So I was just hiding. And then I finally did get hit. I threw my gun up. I think I got hit on my hand, but it like bursted, right? So it didn't hurt. I threw my hand up to be like, I got hit. And all of my friends peppered me. I got hit in the back. I got hit in the knee. I got hit in the lower leg like 3 times. I was like, "What the fuck, boys?" So they just hit me way more than I needed to be hit.
Oh,
And then I was like,
no.
"Dude, what if I get hit in the neck?" I was scared the whole time, essentially, is what I'm trying to say.
Dude,
And
did you wear a cup or no?
I had no cup, dude. I had nothing. I showed up in a t-shirt and jeans. And I was just like, "Oh, I should be good." I wore white Vans. Though I got to buy a new pair of shoes. It was so bad. And then I had to wash my hat. Luckily I saved it. But yeah, it
Love
was
that.
nightmare scenario for me. But I was able to bounce back. Actually, the funniest part was the guy who was getting married. They did this thing there. They made him run the gauntlet where we all just lined up in a firing squad line and he just had to run from one side to the other as we just peppered him. And he looked like he got in a fist fight with a wasp nest. Like he just had, but like he was bruised all over. And I felt bad about it. I stopped shooting halfway through because I was like, "Dude, I don't want him to hurt like this. Like that shit hurts." But the other boys weren't as nice to him. So it was it was a fun trip. It was a really awesome trip. And yeah, San Diego is way cooler than I thought it was. I've lived in California my whole life. That was the first time going to San Diego. I see why it is popular now, and I think they should get the Chargers back. Send the Chargers back over there. But yeah, that was my week. It was a great time. It was awesome, and a lot of good memories made. But boys, we got to make some memories here on the show. We got to talk about some of these questions here that came in from the competitive Apex Reddit, and then I cannot wait to be on this. I was so sad I couldn't make this interview with Girl because I think she has such an interesting story. Her ability to pivot and go from casting into just playing and then getting signed to TSM. Awesome story. I wish I could have met her. I wish I could have talked to her because I had so many questions. But I can't wait to listen to this guy. Just for from you guys, I can't wait to hear what you guys had to say and all that stuff. I can't wait to get down and edit this bad boy. But boys, let's move into the questions here before we get to Girl. Let's start with the first one here, and this one I got to take some ownership on. This one comes from Leafeyes. Leafeyes says, "What's why I got to do to be included in the podcast description on Spotify? Solo to bronze to masters, get a 20 kill badge, 100 push-ups. Is it because he's an Ash main? Such discrimination against our casual king cannot stand." And I'm here to tell you that was my fault. That was not the boys' fault. When we started the show, I was like, "All right, how am I going to get people to listen? It's not going to be putting my dumbass name on the show. It was going to be putting the two giants, the two titans over here, their names on the show because, I was just hosting. So, and I've gotten a lot more involved in like the breakdowns of stuff. But everybody knows I'm just the casual king. These two boys know what they're talking about a little bit more than me. But I will add myself in there if people want me in there. So I'm
gonna be honest. I had no idea that you weren't in there.
Yeah,
I had
no,
no clue
I
this whole
wrote it.
time.
I was the one
He
who
wrote it.
Yeah.
You definitely. Why are you not including yourself? Like that's
I don't
just
know.
that's
It
just
was
some
early.
silliness.
I was also way less confident early
But I mean,
on.
like you're
yeah.
the Wyatt Bab.
That's true. That is true.
That's right. Your name's on the list, and
Dude,
not
it
ours.
literally-
IGL. Wait, what was that? IGN.
IGN. Somebody else.
Somebody else.
100
That was
Thieves.
not nearly
100
as
Thieves.
important.
Yeah.
Wyatt Bab.
There we go. Yeah. No, I'll add it in there. I'll throw it in there. Yeah, I wrote it a little bit differently then, but Leaf Eyes is right. I got to put myself in there. But that would be sick if I could do like a solo to Masters, except for the fact that, like, I don't even know if I could. But I'll try it. I'll give it a shot. I don't even have a 20 kill badge. I've gotten 18, haven't gotten 20.
It's like
So,
almost 20 though.
Yeah, I mean, it's just 2 away. It's Peyton Manning. But yeah, so that's why I will adjust that. I will add that in. Okay, this one I'm actually really excited to answer, and I want to hear both of your guys' answers as well. Not including Apex. This one comes from 2Xify. Not including Apex. Which 4 games make up your personal gaming Mount Rushmore? What do you guys got?
For my personal, for like me as a person, right? That's what we're going with. Because for me as a person, it would have to be Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, Halo 3, for the combination of just multiplayer, and then like the Forge mode went absolutely just nuclear, and like just you have to put respect on it. And then the super throwback Star Wars. I'm gonna include them as like one game because you could really pick either, but I more lean towards number 2. But like Star Wars Battlefront 2 and Star Wars Battlefront on the PS2, those. So like if that counts as one little thing, if I have to pick one or the other, I definitely pick Battlefront 2 because of the fact that you like that game was so ahead of its time. The fact that you had like a whole like conquest campaign, and then you had the ability to like fight like TDM domination on multiple different maps and have both like on the ground fighting, and then you have like a whole separate in the air fighting like in space battles. And then I think in one how they had like the vehicles that you could literally fly in the actual like land games. Like it was just, that game was just so elite. And then like Modern Warfare 2, that's peak Modern Warfare for me. I mean, that's peak Call of Duty for me. Modern Warfare 2, that's easy. And then Halo 3 is just, yeah, it's a lock. That's definitely and I have to pick one more. Man. That one, in a similar situation of Battlefront 1 and 2, I'm going to go with Oblivion and Skyrim. And then probably I played it. I had so much more time on Oblivion than Skyrim, but I'm sure like they're both like super solid. Though that would be my Mount Rushmore, and probably the one I have with an honorable mention to League of Legends, and I just wouldn't put that on there because I probably just was more mad, more so the majority of the time. It was probably like the absolute worst version of myself in all of my video game history. Definitely my most toxic version was when I was a League of Legends player. But like I have to mention it as like I did play it a fair, like I have like over 2,000 public matches on League of Legends, and those public matches, like those are typically not super short. But what about you guys?
Wow. I'm glad you went first because I had to think about mine. But it's funny because you have 2 of the same ones that I think that are probably mine, which would be MW2. The biggest Mount Rushmore of anything for me would have to be Halo 3, though.
Love that. It's so elite.
It just, the game changed my life. I think socially, the MW2 was probably more social than anything else because I wasn't as invested. But I think Halo 3 specifically changed the way that I viewed video games, specifically in esports, because they had an MLG playlist, and I used to, watch. I tell people all the time, but I skipped a birthday party to watch MLG Columbus, like 2008, for Halo 3. And so it's really, really funny. And then I would say my third one would be Super Smash Bros. Melee. I think my GameCube days, I really enjoyed that. I had birthday parties where we did Super Smash Bros. Like it was like we had a tournament and all that stuff for like my eighth birthday party or 9-year-old birthday party, right? And then the last one would have to be Fortnite. I think that was also kind of a social thing, but I think when it comes to just the way that I also viewed video games as an adult or getting into my adulthood, how much it changed the culture of video games. I think it became more socially acceptable to play video games than it ever was beforehand. And so I think Fortnite's got to be up there for me, because I wasn't afraid to be like, hey, I play video games. I'm playing Fortnite right now, something like that. Specifically with girls, really, mainly is what I'm thinking of. But that would be my Mount Rushmore: Fortnite, MW2, Halo 3, and Super Smash Bros. Melee. Wyatt, what about you?
Okay, so I have vastly different answers, and I think the games you guys picked were like super competitive, and I think that shows in your guys' ability in playing because mine are way different. Uh, my first and foremost, if there was a game that I could revive and bring back and show people who didn't get to experience it before the age of PCs and all this different type of stuff. I mean, they were around, but this game wasn't really being played on them. Uncharted 3, if nobody knows, was almost exactly like Apex before Apex. And what I mean by that is it didn't play the same way necessarily. It was actually a third person shooter, but there was no fall damage. The gunplay was extremely movement based and it dealt with a lot of like climbing mechanics and there was a lot of different things you could do in that game that were, and the maps are, I think, are kind of similar to the way they kind of structure them. And then they had a few different variations that came a little bit from Halo and Call of Duty. Like there was power weapon positions and different stuff like that. But Uncharted 3 Online was one of my favorite times of my life. They had this game mode called 3-Team Deathmatch, and it was just 2v2v2, and it was insane. It was absolutely insane. It was a red team, a yellow team, and a blue team. And it was just the amount of like different plays you could do, because what could happen is you could be hanging on a ledge, and if a guy would come to the window just like looking for you, you could pull him off and just kill him. Or like if you were hanging on a ledge and you walk up to you, he could kick you in the head and you would die instantly. It was crazy. It also had a bunch of different ultimates that I think was another thing that is obviously similar to Apex. There was one called Puff of Smoke. You would just, if you were fighting somebody and it wasn't going your way, you just hit Puff of Smoke and it just teleported you to a random place in the map. It made no sense because Uncharted is a series about like adventure and it's supposed to be it has like a lot of realism in it, whereas like it literally had no fall damage. You could jump off the tallest building, you would just roll like nothing happened. They had a power position sniper called the T-Bolt, one shot kill anywhere. It was insane. You were always trying to get to the T-Bolt. Uncharted 3 was incredible. It was so much fun. I missed it so much. And I wish, like, there's so many people who didn't play it that I wish had the opportunity to play it. It also had so much customization just in like different aspects. And then Uncharted 4 came out and they like butchered all of the great things that made Uncharted 3 online good. It could never be a competitive game for sure. But there was also this series on YouTube where every week some random dude would just post like the top 5 on like online plays on Uncharted 3, and it was so cool. I miss those videos. Sometimes I'll go back and watch them just to remember. But Uncharted 3 is definitely my number one, no matter what. I will throw in Modern Warfare 2 because it was just one of those games that, Finn, you were talking about like Fortnite changed gaming. I think Modern Warfare 2 did as well. Like it was like, I feel like gaming was kind of like quiet when I was a kid. Like you didn't really tell people you were gaming a whole lot unless you already knew that you guys were gaming like together. Then Modern Warfare 2 came out and everybody was willingly talking about being like, oh yeah, I'm gaming, I'm doing this. And it wasn't just kids, it was like their parents too. Like I would play against my friends' parents sometimes. Like it was like everybody was playing it and it kind of opened it up. Like the door was no longer cracked, it was fully wide open. Like this was a thing and people were good at it and people could make money off of it and people were like posting content about it, and it was just monumentous for gaming. Modern Warfare 2 is all like, and there was so many different ways to play it too. You didn't have to just play online. The campaign was insane, and then you had like those little missions, which were cool as well. So I'd say that I have like a random weird game too that I played a lot. Dragon Age Inquisition. It was an open world game, and if you've never played Dragon Age, it was not open world before. They said it was open world, but it really wasn't. There was like set paths you had to walk on and shit. But Dragon Age Inquisition came out, and I so happened to have like a health scare to where I had to stay home for, I think it was like 3 months. I couldn't leave when I was like 19, and the doctor was like, she was like, listen, I have some bad news for you. You're going to have to stay home for 3 months, and I'm going to need you to play some video games. Like, find a way. I don't know if you have a system, but you got to play video games because you got to get your motor skills correct. And I was like, oh, damn. Shit, I guess I'll have to if you say so. You hear that, Mom? Like, sorry. I got to just chill.
You heard her, Mom. You heard her. You
Sorry,
heard
Mom.
him.
But yeah, I had Skyrim and Dragon Age Inquisition, and Skyrim I already played like a bunch. Dragon Age was so crazy. Like the way the game played, I can't even really describe it without going too deep into it. But it was like an open world game where you basically had your own Inquisition. You were leading an Inquisition, and you did different tasks throughout the day. You had like a big desk, and you would choose what your Inquisition did throughout the day, and then you would go into these different worlds, these different realms, and do all that. That's my third. And my fourth, I'm going with Enoch as well. Star Wars Battlefront. Another kind of opening of the curtain moment in gaming with Star Wars Battlefront. Like, if for the first time you could merge these two things together. And in my opinion, I feel like no other Star Wars game has come close to Battlefront other than like Knights of the Old Republic. But it was a different kind of game. So Star Wars Battlefront, I just remember how late I would stay up playing that game. And I just remember how angry it would make me. That's usually how I can tell if it's like a good game, is if it makes me mad, because that just means I'm passionate about it. And so Battlefront, I think Battlefront 1, the very original, will always be my favorite. Honorable mention will be Overwatch. I love Overwatch to death. I just didn't feel like I don't think I could throw it on the list now because I don't like what it's become. But yeah, that rounds out my Mount Rushmore. That's a great question, by the way. I love that question so much. I mean, we're all gamers. We love talking about gaming. So once again, shout out to 2Xify for throwing that question in there. Boys, let's move on into the next one here. This one comes from Roast27. Given the recent MacDown 2 tournament, do you think some sort of elimination of characters each round could be implemented further in the future of ALGS and other big tournaments? What would some of the pros and cons be in your opinion? How do you guys feel about this?
I am familiar with the MacDown situation. I think it is interesting because the biggest thing would be where teams would have to be would be forced to be very versatile whenever it comes to playing different legends. Because for those that are not aware of how the MacDown works, I believe by chat, if they can vote against a legend being banned for that round. And I also think I'm very well could be butchering this, but it's something along the lines of if the team, like whatever the team wins with, like the first game, I think it's open. Yeah, anybody can play whatever. And then whatever the team wins with, like with those three legends, those are no longer available for the rest of the tournament. Like, and then I think there's something involved with chat, like I was mentioning. I'm not super familiar with it, so I maybe am butchering this, but I think the biggest thing when it comes to this tournament is it would make it where other teams would have to be very versatile when it comes to legend picks and how they are, their play styles. I think to answer that question, biggest pros is versatility and viewership. Cons is, as a player, that would be very difficult if that would just be really difficult, I think. So I guess that's my answer. I don't know if you boys have one. If not,
I do like the idea of being able to have like one or two legend bands a tournament and have that be something that's voted on by all of the players participating in it at the beginning, I think that would be cool. But as far as going and like deleting characters every round, I don't think that would be good for the game overall. And I don't think you'd see like the highest level of Apex if everybody's constantly having to adapt and change to the different legend. Like you're not going to see anybody like mastering. But I mean, it could be something that'd be interesting. It would definitely keep things fresh and shake things up. But I don't know if that's the right direction for it to head at this time.
Yeah, I don't know if it would be great. I think there's aspects of it that could be great, but I don't know if it should be implemented by chat. I think the way I was thinking and the way I've always said ranked should be, it should be a complete separate playlist from casuals. What casuals is everything. I think when you're talking about ranked and trying to create the most competitive environment for your game, some of the things that you've released in the past might have to be taken out. I've always said I don't think anybody should choose it other than like the developers or speaking with the pros, and then the developers say, "Hey, this is what it is." I don't think like what I mean by that is like no like voting system beforehand. I think it should just be, "Hey, this is what's not allowed," if there is any of that. And there's only a few things that I think should be removed, I guess, just to keep it like super competitive. But then other days I battle with it because like my first initial thing is to be like, oh, we'll take out the charge rifle, but then it's like that's like a really good M&K weapon that they can use and utilize in that game. And even though I hate it, it might actually be good for the competitive environment. I don't know. I don't have those answers, but I've always thought there should be some sort of separation between the rank system and the casual system. And if they were to do something like this, I wouldn't be too upset, but I also don't play in it. So that's my thoughts on it. I do think that's a really good question from Rose27 and is a very interesting concept. And I would love to hear what you guys have to say. And if you guys want to give your opinion, give your thoughts, go into the Discord. It'll be in the link down below. You click on it, hop in the Discord, and we can discuss. We can have all that we can have all of the discussions there. Okay. Let's get into a weird one here. This one comes from Bacon RTB. If all the pros were hot dogs instead of people, which toppings would be on the Imperial Hal hot dog? Now, I'm saying if we take this question, it doesn't have to just be the Imperial Hal dog. It could be any legend. I just said legend. Any player. But we could probably start with the Imperial Hal dog. I would say it's probably something spicy. Jalapenos, maybe. They put those on Chicago dogs, right?
I was gonna say relish because like
there's some spice there. You gotta have some spice.
I don't know. Yeah, you're right. That's probably not a great answer. I was gonna say relish because like he can be toxic, and I think relish is disgusting.
Okay, let's switch the question to this because I think this is important. What is your ideal hot dog?
Okay, my ideal hot dog is probably. Oh wow. Okay, that's a great question. I like a cheddar dog, like has cheese in it.
Oh,
and
okay.
Then, yeah, and then I'll do probably ketchup, and if I don't do ketchup, then I'll do chili on top of it with some more cheese.
You're still on ketchup, eh?
What's that supposed to mean?
I don't know. I've just heard through the grapevine that ketchup is not a great condiment, and sometimes I agree.
I mean, okay, that's fine. That's just my opinion. What about yours?
No, I was just wondering.
What's your ideal hot dog, Wyatt?
It's the legitimate like Chicago dog. Like it has the relish, it has the jalapenos on it with mustard on a sesame seed bun, and I feel like I'm forgetting something else. Sometimes you'll get it; they'll put a full tomato in, not a full tomato slice in there, and then they'll put like a long dill pickle and some onions. I could do without the tomato, the onions, and I like the pickles, but I feel like isn't that what relish is already, right?
I don't know. Yeah, I think so. It's like specialized sliced up pickle.
Yeah, so I'll take the pickle with it, but I'll just take it off and eat it separately. But yeah, that's
Right.
my ideal hot dog right there.
E.
I'm going to not participate in this question as I've just never been a hot dog enjoyer at any
Oh,
point in my life. Just never
that's
been a
actually
man of the dog.
it's actually not a bad answer. That's participating right there. I think there's a good sect of people who just don't like hot dogs, and there's nothing wrong with that because
And so
technically,
as a non-hot dog, I don't feel like I have enough information in order to attribute condiments to certain people, such as how, because I just
perfect.
don't know, don't care. You know what I'm saying?
No, I feel that. I feel that. Are you a ketchup enjoyer?
No, I'm not. I'm the only like condiment that I'm really a fan of would be marinara sauce. I think is absolutely fire, but like in terms of any other sauce, not a fan of. But I would also, I'm not a fan of like, I mean, I'm not opposed to putting peanut butter on things. Like if you ever had peanut butter on a burger, it is fire.
It's good.
Oh no
It is
shot,
fire.
bro!
No,
What
it's
did I
good.
just
It's
hear?
actually good.
And then like I've had chicken tenders with peanut butter as well. That is also good.
I've never heard of
A
that.
little bit more risque, but I've definitely put some peanut butter on some chicken before, and it's definitely, I was a fan. You might be too. But yeah, I'm not a big like ketchup is awful in my opinion.
I don't know. I used to love it when I was a kid, and then I like turned like 11, and I feel like I just never wanted it anymore, and I don't know why. I just never wanted it anymore, and it actually like grosses me out now to where I can't even like think about eating it. And sometimes my daughter will pretend to put ketchup on things to gross me out. That's how much I don't like it.
Ooh, I like spicy mustard as well.
I like
Spicy
honey
mustard
mustard.
on a. Oh, honey mustard's also good. But I guess okay. To go back to the dog,
Yeah.
my first thought was, I feel like the Rambowski dog would just be like, you know, I know he is retired, but I mean, I'm gonna throw him in there because he's such a legendary, character to the Apex scene. So I would say, I think he would be like a supreme dog, like have everything on it, like anything and everything is on it. Either that or it's like only mustard, but it's a lot of mustard.
To like emulate like the hair.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. No, I was thinking that too. I was trying to think of just a hot dog with awesome hair. That'd be awesome. No, yeah, that's interesting. Great question. Interesting question from Bacon RTB. If the pros were hot dogs. We're going to move on into official Groudon Go. And they say, why do you think esports has been just universally unable to implement a working business model? I feel like we've talked about this before, but it's a very tricky subject. It's a weird question, not like the question itself, but it's hard to answer because there's so many different factors. But what do you guys think has attributed to esports not being like, I guess, at the forefront and not always been able to be successful in certain games?
It's a great question. I don't know I don't know the biggest attributor, but my first thought is, you know, well, I think a lot of times it's maybe the marketing isn't hitting the correct people. My first thought was like how some organizations, they don't utilize having people on their team that are super good with content and don't just make content, and therefore would drive more sponsorships. So that would keep them afloat more because of the sponsorship deals. But I guess to say specifically esports, I don't. It's not as I think it goes back to the social thing. Is like I don't know if it's as accepted as sports are, right? Like as, or at least in America. I can only speak for America, really. But I don't. I mean, if you think about it comparatively to like football or something, it's just not really the same. And because of that, I think it's harder to drive at like the marketing, and there's not as much of a, I guess, a current steady income, I guess, from sponsorships. So that's what I'm thinking of, is just more so on the marketing side of esports. But that's obviously maybe one of maybe 10 different things, but that's the most prominent one in my head that I think of as why esports aren't necessarily as huge as they could be, I think, right now.
Yeah, I'd agree with pretty much everything you said, as well as saying that it's just not like, I know you touched on it, I'm pretty sure, but like it's just not like culturally not where it would be to see it at like the same level as like football or basketball. And it's just super like we're still like super early. Like yes, it's been around for a while, but in terms of like where it's at in comparison to the like mainstream of culture, like we have like a very long way to go. And I definitely think there's going to come a time where we're a substantial part of it and we'll have a little bit more real estate, if that makes sense. And we'll have a lot more attention on not just Apex, but as like gaming as a whole. I think that that's the direction that the world is moving in. And it's just something that takes time. I mean, if you look back at like the early years of like NFL or NBA, like they weren't these like crazy big things, but you look at them now, like if you look at them now, that they're like massive. But there's also like they're just institutions that have been around for years and years and years and years, and so they're going to be growing. And so esports, it's got some time that it needs to make up for if it wants to get to the point where it's as culturally relevant as like traditional sports and other forms of entertainment.
I think we're just a little early right now. I think if we give it 15 years, with the way things are going, if they continue on the same trajectory, I think we're actually going to see like a huge jump in not every title, but I feel like there are titles that hit people the same way that sports do. I think Rocket League is one of those because it's been around for a long time and it continues to be there. It's very simple. Get ball and net. That's it. That's a lot of what the sports we watch are. Like they're very simple like that. Another one is Counter-Strike. I think everybody can understand Counter-Strike. And there are some nuances to it, like when you sometimes you don't know exactly what you're looking at, especially if you don't play video games. But I think Counter-Strike makes sense. It's shoot guy, don't let him shoot you. Very simple. When you start muddying the waters a little bit with some of these other games, like we know Apex really well. It's simple to us, but when you're trying to explain to somebody how somebody can throw out a fire ring, how somebody can cut through interdimensional time and teleport you somewhere else, when you're trying to like do all this other stuff and mention how they come together while also, trying to implement the storm aspect and all this different type of stuff and early rotates, like it can get hectic pretty quick, I think. But I think we just got to give it time. If we give it time, I think we're going to see a lot more people participating in esports and doing all this. And that's not to say we already aren't. There's a lot of big tournaments that we've seen. I mean, you look at some of the bigger titles here, they're filling out like, I don't know if it's stadiums, but pretty big venues. Like they're filling stuff out. So, it's also a little bit bigger, I think, outside of NA. I feel like the European scene has a lot more like diehard fans, and you see a lot more like attendance there. I don't know that for sure. I don't have numbers in front of me, but I just feel that way. It seems like they take it a little bit more seriously. So I think eventually it'll make its way, and I think esports has a place in the future in just competition. So I think we're there. But yeah, great question from official Groudon Go. We appreciate it. This one comes from a special guest. He's been on the show once again, Zero Tricky. He asks, who is the most underrated player in Pro League? Who we got? Underrated. Doesn't mean that they're the best. Just means underrated. They're not currently rated as high as they should be.
I mean, mine's super biased, but I'm going to go ahead and go Zach Mazer. I think as an IGL, he doesn't have the respect that I think he will by the end of the season. And like obviously, like they didn't have like the best day, their last outing of ALGS, but that had like the positions that they were able to get in, despite all of the problems that were going on, I thought was absolutely just amazing to see. And I think as a both macro and micro IGL, he's able to just put his team in spots for them to succeed. And his teammates are just absolute laser beams and design and chaotic. So definitely a little bit biased on my end for sure. But I definitely think that Zach Mazer doesn't get as much credit for the how capable he is as an IGL. So that would be my pick. That's their tricky guy. He sucks. Honestly, just gets carried by Panders and his Watson. Don't know how that guy signed.
He wouldn't even challenge me in a 1v1, so.
I mean, he's scared of you.
I know.
The king of casuals.
Don't know why. Don't get it.
Coward.
If I was to do mine, I think I would put in Zainu. I think he's obviously, I think he's now the leader. I think he's the kill leader, if not top 3 for North America at the current moment. And he plays for Meat Lovers, aka Meat Riders, as I called them. And he doesn't have as much of like clout, I would say, as somebody like Funk, who was #1 pred. But Zainu is kind of come in and kind of showcase his ability. I do not know Zainu very well, but I have been very impressed to see what all he has been able to do under Tech's leadership and IGLing. And so I think I would have to say Zainu, considering they are in what, 3rd place or
I can
place?
get him on the show.
Yeah, I mean, he would be great.
He's a homie. I played with him a decent amount of times.
Well, maybe that would be a great
on his young come up that he's been on recently.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm gonna give my vote to Zainu.
I mean, I feel like my vote has been pretty apparent. As leader of the Phony fan club, I will say Phony, but because everybody knew I was going to say that, I will get a backup answer here, and I'm going to say Naughty. Naughty has proven a lot of people wrong so far just by his personal play. I know their team hasn't been, right at the top, but Naughty's been playing great. I think he's been doing a really solid job. That's not to throw any of his teammates under the bus either. It's just that sometimes, you're playing against the best in the world. You look at the standings right here. He's 7th in kills right now. He's doing really well. He's clipping shit, as he would say. I like Naughty. I like what he's bringing to the table. And whatever happens for the Lanimals, if things don't go well for them and they decide to split up and do something else, I think Naughty, wherever he goes, would be a very, very, very good pickup for anybody who's looking for one. So I'm going to say Naughty on that one. That's my underrated player. Naughty's incredible. He's doing great. I enjoy watching. I literally only tune into Lanimal streams because he's so fun to watch. And yeah, so I'm going to say Naughty. Great question there. But yeah, so that should just about answer that one. I love that from Zara. Appreciate Zara for, sending in questions. We'll see what 1v1's still on the table for him. I don't think he's going to take it. And if he did, I don't think it's going to go well for him. So we'll see. But I'm here, Zara, whenever you're ready. Okay, those are all the questions that we're going to answer from the Competitive Apex Reddit. Don't forget, if you're not following along with the r/competitive Apex, that's where a lot of our questions will come from. But we are going to switch it over and answer some questions from our Discord. And I think, Finn, you have those 2 lined up.
Yeah, I'll go with Captain Carter says, what do you think separates the average Apex Legends player from the top 1%? Is it pure skill, time put in, mechanical ability, or do you think each individual has a skill cap?
I would say time put in as well as mindset about their ability to succeed and get better. And then when you combine that along with the amount of time that you're able to spend getting to the level that you've set for yourself, then that's what is the biggest determiner. I am very, very, very opposed to any amount of belief that like there's some external circumstance that's causing you to not be able to like achieve like a goal that you set for yourself. I think anybody who's out here and listening, if they legitimately wanted to become a top 1% Apex Legends player, there's like nothing really stopping them from being able to make that happen. And if they have the right mindset about it and they spend enough time working towards accomplishing that goal, I don't think there's any reason why people wouldn't be able to. Personally, what about you guys? What do you think?
Yeah, I think if you listen to a lot of our interviews, you'll hear a lot of the same things. Guys ripping like 18-hour sessions, foregoing opportunities with their friends, foregoing opportunities with their families, missing out on parties, missing out on school sometimes, which isn't like great, but you know, they made it, so good. Missing out on a lot of different things to pursue this, and pair that with some skill and a good mindset, and they conquered it. They were able to do it. I don't think it just like comes from pure competitive passion. I think you have to have a lot of discipline as well, and those people had it. That's why they've made it. And yeah, I think that pretty much sums it up.
I guess if I was to say mine, I think a lot of these things stack on top of each other. I mean, I think you put in a lot of time, which means you should hopefully be gaining your mechanical ability to be higher, which in turn gives you more opportunities to be in like fights or like longer, taking different fights or gaining experience of like knowledge of the game. So I think a lot of these things stack on top of each other. I think there is a pure ability aspect. Of course, everybody has that. But like Enoch said, if you're limiting yourself to that, then like I don't know if that's the best way to view it. Um I think all of those things are kind of encompassed, but I will say this. I think game knowledge and like how you approach fights is 75 to 80% of what I think Apex is. I know mechanical skill is like very much like nuanced and very talked about a lot, but I think a lot of this is game skill and like game knowledge more so than mechanics. That being said, I think mechanics can definitely outplay um, whenever somebody makes a good decision against them. I think it's just a very difficult. I think that's a very layered question, but I will say I think a lot of game sense is required in order to be in that top 1% because you're thinking about the game from a completely different viewpoint as like an average person, right? If we're comparing that. So I think game sense is the biggest factor for me. So thank you once again, Captain Cardis, for the question. The last question that we'll have for today comes from the Discord from Sock, and they say, "What do you think the impact of TSM missing land would be, like contest play and potential third ever land champ?" We'll hit the first part because I think that's actually super solid. But what do you guys think would be the impact of TSM missing land when it comes to viewership and just ALGS?
I mean, that man's watch party is going to go silly. But I do think that there would be there's definitely going to be a drop off because it's no surprise to anybody that TSM's fan base is the largest fan base in all of Apex. And if they aren't there, that's going to be a lot of people who are motivated a lot, like largely due to it being TSM, to be involved and care more about Apex. And so I think it will be something that if it does end up happening, it'll be interesting to see. And like I've heard pro players make jokes about saying how they're going to toss TSM some free KP so that way they can all keep their jobs in the sense of like, if TSM doesn't make it, then nobody's going to care anymore. But like, that's not completely true. And I think it's going to be interesting to see how much of an impact that does make if they aren't able to tee up these last few days of Pro League.
I think
because it's
really,
looking like a much more possible. I mean, sorry, Wyatt, but like it's actually legitimately like the chance of like TSM not making Pro League, the chances of that happening are just astronomically higher than I think almost anybody would have assumed going into the split. And so it's even wild that we're having this conversation. It's like one that's like real.
Yeah, I think it would be absolutely hilarious on Twitter for like the first hour. And then it would start to set in like, oh shit, that's like a major pillar of of like Apex ranked. Like that's right now. I would say it's the face. Like I don't think anybody's even really close. Maybe like NRG, because people know NRG, and they've had like a pretty similar lineup for a while, right? So it's like that's probably it would be funny. I would be laughing. Like there'd be a lot of memes because people love to hate on TSM for whatever reason. And I don't hate TSM by any means. I just think it's just funny. But after that you'd be like, well, that's a major team that's not there. So I would rather see them in. It's almost like people always talk about how I'll use the NFL for this example. Like, do people hate the Dallas Cowboys? Yes. But is it better if the Dallas Cowboys are in the playoffs? Yes, because it gets a lot more eyes. Whether you like them or hate them, you're going to watch them and you're going to see how they do. Same thing with like the Lakers for basketball, right? Even if you just said LeBron, whatever feeling you have about LeBron, is it better for him to make the postseason? Yes, because even though it's funny when he misses it at first, then you're like, well, I kind of wish he was here now, just so we could continue to see what other funny things could happen. Because funny things eventually ensue with stuff like that. So I think, yeah, it's much better to have those type of teams there. Another example is like the NHL. The Detroit Red Wings have been like a franchise that made the playoffs, I think, like 28 straight years, and they've been so bad for a while now. And this is like the first year they were even close to getting into the playoffs. And you start to realize the league is better when those rivalries, when those big name teams are there. So whatever you feel about TSM, you want them to be in. You want them to get in. No matter what your feeling is about them, because them being in makes it a lot more interesting for everybody else around. That's my thoughts on it.
Yep. Well, I'm in agreement of all that. So I hope that that's not the case. I hope that they make it though, like because we do want them to make it. Like I think we've had everybody except for reps on TSM on the podcast, so we're pro TSM on this podcast. So
yeah, no, it's better when they're there. I hope they make it as well.
Absolutely. So once again, thank you, Sock, for the question.
And thanks to everybody else who sent in a question on the competitive Apex Reddit and the Discord. We appreciate you guys sending in questions that we can answer for y'all on the show. Boys and girls, we're going to send it on down to our interview with TSM Girl. And then on the other side, we're going to talk about Realm GG and round it out with the heart-to-heart. Let's hit a quick ad and get to Girl.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, I am not Wyatt, and I am trying my best to do an intro, but this is the legend Girl, TSM Girl. We have her on today. Very special guest, and we are so excited to have her on today to tell us pretty much everything that's going on in her life, and recently off an amazing MFAM tournament win, which we'll get into. But Girl, how are you doing today?
I'm doing very well. It is 11:20 at night, but I took a power nap before this so I could have some energy.
We really appreciate that. Like you making time for this is amazing, and like we really do appreciate it. Like
especially the prep work. That's impressive. We got you. Not only are taking time out to be here and to answer all of our questions that we're gonna get into, but you took a pre-prep nap. Like that's dope. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, so one of the first things that I want to get into is the MFAM tournament that you just got into, or you just got done winning. Congratulations to you. Very exciting. It was. It reminded me a lot of, we just had we had a rivals tournament right whenever TDM came out, and now like Nick Merckx puts on a tournament, wants to have you both were in it actually, wanting to run it down, do some TDM, and formulate some teams. So how can you, maybe you guys can both break it down, but I think Girl, you should break it down. Your teammates, kind of some unknown names really, and then you kind of brought them to light, and so I would love for you to break down your team, maybe some strategy going into it, and maybe some of your favorite moments whenever it came to the tournament.
All right. So for picking on my teammates, I was invited a few days prior, so I didn't have too much time. And I put out a tweet. Two really good friends of mine both recommended one of my teammates. DivQ recommended Koifel, and Zerafer recommended CJ. And I've played with both of them in rank before, so they obviously know like skill and stuff like that, and they've been in Pro League. And they both said that these controller players were like the best controllers players in the world, like similar skill level or better, or almost as good. So I was like, okay, well, there's no reason not to pick them up if I can. I asked the admins, and they said yeah, and that's kind of how our team formed. And I let them know. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna pick you up out of respect of my friends. And our first time playing was that day during the tournament. But CJ did have prior experience. He played in the qualifiers, the MFAM qualifiers. And I mean, Koifel's just, his aim speaks for himself, I guess.
Yeah, it was super impressive. Enoch, were you able to play against or with girls' team at any point in time?
We had a game, and it was unfortunately on, I think, Overflow. And we played Design's team, who played double Rampart, and were just beyond. I mean, like, Design. We all know Design. If there is a way to cheese or cringe a game mode, that man is going to figure it out, and his team will be capitalizing on it. And we definitely played into the Rampart shenanigans, and took an unfortunate L, but chalk it up to the fact that that's just because Tyler is super cringe, and Rampart was too strong.
I would say that was my worst game, my performance myself, just because I was frustrated. I'm like, I just did not know what to do. Yeah, but right after, I'm just like, why did I not go Mad Maggie? Why did I not go Fuse? Because they literally held that one middle area, did not move. So I was like, next time I play against him, we're winning. And I played a little bit differently the second time I had to play Overflow. But yeah, I'm sorry.
Oh no, nothing to apologize for. I thought the whole tourney was like, even like with like the frustrating ways that certain maps could be played, like Skull Town was just miserable, because like if one team just started sitting on top of Bones, it was just so annoying. But
did you have a whole
overall
team
it was a fun time. What?
Did you have a whole team sit on Bones? Like
I had to deal with Guild and Evan both on Bones, or like Guild's whole team on Bones, and him running around on Bangalore just being a menace. And that was like one of the least enjoyable, like that combined with the Rampart thing definitely was probably the more frustrating. But I mean, like, that's just, people are going to find the way that's most effective to win the game, and you can't like get too upset, and so you just got to try to have fun as much as you can.
We fortunately didn't have that happen. We've had one time where Mandy played Bones, but we obviously had Bloodhound on our team, and we scanned. I saw 5 people on the ground, knew Mandy was up top. I said, just focus everyone on the ground, and then he'll be useless. And we did that, and we ended up winning. So I guess I contributed a little bit to my
You're
team.
IGLing, huh? IGL girl.
See, I would have much rather played against that team than my 5-man Bones with Rampart.
Oh, that's awful.
Awful.
We got lucky in that aspect.
So one of the things that maybe right off the bat, maybe people didn't know or may not know now, is that you have a career, well, at least a history of doing casting, and specifically ALGS casting. And so even though I think right now you're doing a little bit of hiatus, maybe potentially could get back into it, all that sort of stuff still might be up in the air. I don't know. Maybe you could answer that. But I would love for you to kind of talk about maybe your casting parts of ALGS and like maybe some of your favorite things about it, and just how well you know the game on top of it. We'll get into that later. Let's just do this casting part.
All right. So I got invited to cast after, I believe, after I finished, well, I thought I finished competing. So I stopped competing because my teammates worked full time. They didn't really have the time to commit to it. So that was known within the community. And then they asked me if I wanted to start casting. I said, sure. And I pretty much learned from scratch during ALGS in front of thousands of people. But the cast brought me on, like all the, full-time casters really helped me a lot. So shout out to them. Love them so much. And I improved a little bit by little bit each and every cast. A lot of people have acknowledged that as well, I would say, within the community. They're like, man, she's gotten better over time, so they could see that. And yeah, that's kind of how it started. But and then there was this, then I didn't get rehired for 1 year, so that's kind of how it ended.
Well, that's great. And I mean, obviously not great, but you're still obviously doing super well when it comes to content creation. And now, you're competing under the TSM name for would it technically be the women's league, but at the same time under for ALGS and stuff. So could you break that down of maybe your team as a comp team, I mean, being one of the only women's signed teams really, and kind of representing the female population when it comes to like showcasing how good and how amazing there is whenever it comes to talent in the Apex scene?
So don't quote me on this, but this is what I think. I actually think TSM did release a statement about their women's team, but from what I gathered is they picked up 4 incredible players and they want to nurture them over time so that they're competing in Pro League or on that level, and they want to give them their full support. So financial support, coaching support, whatever means necessary to get them to that level. I appreciate TSM so much. I got to go to LAN. I got to witness TSM winning at LAN. I even predicted it. I went on the desk with my, former casters, and I said, TSM wins in 8, and they won in 8 on the match point format. And I'm never going to forget that moment.
That is a baller call. That is a baller call. Because like calling the team that's going to win is one thing. Calling the number of games that they're going to do it in is another level of just callsmanship. And
sometimes
that is so
I have
cool.
Good luck. Yeah. Sometimes I get it right. Sometimes I don't. But I don't know why. Like, it's sometimes just a gut feeling. I mean, they were on their, their high of, like, they were doing so well. So I had a really good feeling about it.
And so recently you did compete with AC and Baby Nikki. And so can you give us a breakdown of how you thought that went and whether or not we'll see you competing more in these women's tournaments moving forward in the future?
Yeah, so it was our first time playing in it, and honestly, it didn't go as well as we thought. Personally, didn't realize how hard staging was to contest, especially against people with high ping, like who's going to get to the bins first type thing, because in staging, you really have to go for high ground if you want to win, and you play for the bins. And I'm honestly not comfortable 50-50ing, so it was a little bit of struggle at first couple games. We were going to go to Mirage, then we got that too late because the team switched over. And then I took us to, where did I take us to? What's the little spot beside the tunnel called? Not Harvester, on the other, Landslide. Sorry, it's
No, you're
midnight.
good.
No judgment.
That's what, you know, that's, I
We
think that's
had
how
to
everybody.
make sure at some point the viewers and listeners knew that you were Canadian. And the sorry is the absolute just giveaway.
Everyone says I'm very Canadian. Yeah, so we went to Landslide and we actually started having better games. I took over IGLing just for like the beginning part of it, but I believe Nikki's such a wonderful IGL. AC's a great fragger and teammate. I believe that if we put in more time that we could do really, really well together. And they both said that they would put in more time with me. So we are going to get back into it whenever, you know, my team is ready. I don't know if you've heard, Bree's mother unfortunately passed away recently. So I haven't really obviously asked her for, like, when are you coming back to play? No, I'm giving her, you know, that space. And who knows how long she'll need. So I don't know when we'll get back, but there is a 100K tournament for the women's league, and its sign up ends April 18th. But I kind of put my eggs in one basket. I was asked by 2 other teams to be their third, and I really, really love playing with AC and Baby Nikki so much. So I'm just like, I'm going to patiently wait. And if the opportunity, you know, is there, like, because she's going to want to slowly get back into things. So if she's up for it, I'm down and I'm ready and I'm here for her. Yeah.
That's great to see, just the level of commitment and just passion you have for the team that you've assembled, and how, regardless of how unfortunate the circumstance is and how patient everybody is being, as these things are just incredibly hard to deal with. And so a lot of the times time is the only thing that can help get through it. And it's awesome to see your commitment to the team, and even with other options on the table, you're happy to be where you're at, and you're going to be moving forward with them. And that's cool.
Thank you. Yeah, I've played ranked with Bree a lot over the past few months. So I think we bonded well, but we also, us 3, we met at LAN as well. So but it's not just like the friendship. I do respect them as players. I'm very honest with what I say. So yeah, no, I was asked, do you think that they are good, like, constructively? Because it was a tough day for them in the first women's day league, and some people thought they were, putting all of the blame on me. But if you know them, if you play with them, they're always thinking of ways to improve. So easily, I think us 3 could be the best women's team in the world. Yeah.
I love that you guys. Well, I think the comfortability aspect of that is really important. And a lot of times people may not know like what goes on behind the scenes. Like,
Exactly.
and that is unfortunately just how it is. But at the same time, it's okay. People only see what they see on stream, right? And so that's all they can judge based off of. But they don't see the team building. They don't see y'all doing VOD review. They don't see you talking about strategy, talking about the 50-50, like all this sort of stuff, right? They may not see all that thing, like all those things, and understand the dynamic of y'all's team. So then, say they do, quote unquote, they put a lot of blame on you, but they don't understand maybe the strategy or the way in which they were saying it is different in the way that you took it because of that dynamic that you had beforehand.
Yeah.
It's funny because it reminds me a lot of the TSM team with Hal and with Evan and Reps. Like, I mean, I know because people only see what they see with Hal and just him howling all the time, right? So
Yeah.
like it is a little bit different. So I love that to hear you talk about like the dynamic of you guys and just having that bond and the respect that you have for them as players too, which is amazing. So I guess leading into that, I would love to hear your story on how did you get to where you are now? Like maybe like growing up, you know, with all you know, playing video games and maybe how you got your name as well, because it is girl, but it's GuhRL, and I would love to hear about that. And but yeah, just basically your come up into the whole Apex scene in gaming.
Sure thing. Let's do it. So do you want me to start with like my gaming journey from the beginning type
Yeah,
thing?
I think
Yeah.
so. I
Great
think a
place
lot
to
of people
start.
love that. Yeah, the whole thing. I would love it.
All right. So in the beginning, it was me, my brother, my dad, and I. Probably be the correct way to say it. We gamed when we were young. Super Nintendo, GameCube, all the consoles that connect to the TV that I don't remember the names of. But actually, I think I have a doc that has some of the names of the games that I played. Yeah, I do. Chirpy, Mr. Robotnik, Mean Bean Machine. I loved that when I was a kid. Golden Axe, World Tour, Jet X 2.0, like PlayStation games.
Wow,
Uh,
those are some old schools right there.
yeah. So I grew up playing video games. But my first multiplayer FPS game was when my brother brought home a PlayStation 3 and COD 4. And I actually I think I cringed a little. I was like, what's that? It didn't look like my Sly Cooper or other type games that I play on PS2. So it looked odd to me. And he's like, give it a chance, give it a chance. And I gave it a chance. I got addicted, started quickscoping in Modern Warfare 2. I played a lot of Call of Duty on PlayStation. So COD 4, Modern Warfare 2, Black Ops, Modern Warfare 3, Black Ops 2. I skipped COD 5. I skipped Zombies. So my first Zombies was the next one. And also during that time, I played RuneScape. So I had an addiction problem, I must say. Sorry to my parents. When they took away my laptop for RuneScape, I would go back to COD. When they took away my PlayStation, I went back to RuneScape. I was super addicted. It was probably very hard to handle. It was very hard to handle me. But yeah, that's actually, you know how I won the MFAM tournament, and today was my mom's birthday. And I'm like, hey, mom, thanks for letting me play. She's like, letting you play? And I'm like, well, I was playing, so you kind of let me play. Yeah. And so Call of Duty, RuneScape, those were my first gaming addictions. I started getting addicted to games kind of around puberty. My a girl in soccer, I used to play a lot of sports. A girl in soccer made fun of the hair on my legs. I never went back to soccer, got addicted, and started to go outside less and less and kind of got self-conscious. So yeah, I grew up very self-conscious and pretty much just loved the online world. So I wouldn't even have to think about my insecurities, I guess. Oh, and then sorry, this is a long gaming journey.
No, you're doing great. Absolutely nothing to apologize for.
Thank you. So there's the Call of Duty phase and the RuneScape phase, but eventually I failed high school. I had to take high school again just because I was so addicted to games. I never did my homework at home. It was hard for me to concentrate. I took a few more courses in the second year of or the whatever extra year of high school, graduated. Took the rest of that year to worked in a restaurant. I had a few jobs growing up. And then I went to college. And since I went to college using my own money, I told myself, well, if I don't want to fail and waste all of my money, I'll have to like stop gaming. So that's about when Overwatch came out. And that's why I didn't really touch Overwatch at all. I heard about it. I'm like, oh, is it a great game? My friends were like, yeah. I'm like, well, then I can't play because then I will fail college and waste all of my money. So yeah, I didn't game too much that year. Graduated with actually pretty good grades, but it was only 2 years. And I couldn't find a job afterwards. So I started streaming because I missed my friends. I was very social on RuneScape, and I had a lot of good friends on COD as well. So the reason why I started streaming was because of the fact that I lost so many friends along the way growing up. I thought if I start streaming, they'll know where I am, no matter what sets us apart, like marriages or different consoles or anything like that. So I started streaming. I got into Dota 2, CSGO, a little bit of PUBG. My computer couldn't handle it. And Deceit. I got addicted to Deceit for like 8 months, even got rank 1. And then I quit Deceit because it kind of makes you a little bit toxic. I went to Dota 2 when I was maining Dota 2. My friends recommended Apex when it launched. I played Apex, instantly fell in love because, as you know now, I grew up on a lot of FPS and it was fast paced. So that's how I got into Apex Legends.
That's awesome. So I love that. So real quick, how did you get your name, Girl?
Oh, yeah. So I had a few different names growing up. Actually, I had a lot of different names. So in the Call of Duty scene, every time you join a different like clan, you change your name or you make like another username. So whatever the clan name is and whatever name you want. I changed my name a lot, and I was always asked if I was a boy or girl when I was a kid, obviously. And I answered girl so many times that I thought, hey, what if I just put it in my username? No one will ever ask me again. And if they do, they'll maybe catch on before I even have to answer. So, yeah, and that's how I got girl.
That is awesome. That's a really cool. I mean, that's unfortunately the way it is, like just in the demographic on how it works for video games. But that is awesome to hear that you were just like, I'm over this. I'm just changing my name to Girl.
Yeah, because it was like a time where I just had to change. I was playful before that, I think. Playful. And I don't know. I don't remember why I changed names again, but you always change your name. Or it was a trend to do like UH in names to try and get. You couldn't really get OG names anymore. So to try and get something short and with no numbers. So, yeah.
So, what was your experience like? Because like Call of Duty is a fairly like Call of Duty game chat is what people will like talk about as like either like some people view it as like the best days of game chat, and then other people view it as like the worst days of game chat. How was it growing up and being in these communities that are like heavily male dominated as a woman in gaming, and how do you think that the overall attitude towards women in gaming has changed over your time as a woman gamer?
So, funny story. I actually talked to my brother a little bit about our childhood yesterday, and we talked about the type of people that we were growing up. I was very focused on myself when I was growing up, and he could realize what other people's thoughts were about him, and he could kind of he was very socially good in that way because he could realize how other people perceived him. he unfortunately had to deal with racism growing up because our background is Middle Eastern. But I was the opposite. I didn't know what was going on around me, didn't know how other people perceived me. I was just focused on what I was doing. So I think that helped me have a really good time in gaming. I just felt like everyone else. I didn't feel any different. I never felt any different than anyone around me because I was just so focused on the game, winning, being competitive. I didn't feel like gender mattered, age mattered, what you look like mattered. And so I don't really remember having bad experiences. I was cracked, I must say. Well, that's how I remember myself. So, I did, like I said, I did get asked if I was a boy or girl, but yeah, sometimes I would flame people, be like, what does it even matter? Bro, we're not going to go out. Just GTFO. Sorry if I can't say that.
No,
but
you're more than
You
fine.
can say whatever. You're good.
Yeah.
I ended up after being asked so many times, like as I got older, a little bit feisty, but so my environment never was bad. I'm very light on things, even if people shit talk me. I don't even take it personally. I shit talk back. Nothing. I don't remember being scarred or anything like that. I was probably a little shit myself. So, yeah. So the COD days were my favorite days of my life. Plus, I had a full friends list, but not only a full friends list, but I had 2 full friends lists on 2 different accounts. So every time I logged in, I played a lot in the summertime. Every time I logged in, I could have a full lobby of quick scoping gamers to do like private lobby headquarters quick scoping. And it was a good time. We were just there to quick scope. And so it wasn't much public lobbies anymore for the most part, really. It was mostly private lobbies with people I knew that were there to quick scope.
To kind of piggyback off that question a little bit, like what Enoch said, and there was a lot, maybe a little bit of chatter on the TL after you guys had won the MFAM tournament, and it was talking about like that there should be more women represented in these type of tournaments, and when it comes to like skill, I would love to hear your perspective on the whole skill discrepancy between men and women, and like, do you see do you think that's a valid argument, and maybe just your overall thoughts when it comes to that, since you are, I mean, when people think of Apex, specifically women in the Apex scene, you are up there, if not, I mean, you're the person that people think about.
Without question, top 5.
Yeah.
Like, strong case for easy top 3.
Oh yeah, that's a great. I would hard agree with that, and so I think your voice really does matter when it comes to this, and so I think hearing your opinion really is brings a lot of validity to like what around this topic, because it is a very it's a touchy subject, it really is, and so I would love to hear, maybe I know our listeners would too, just what you're thinking.
Yeah. So my initial thoughts, because this actually happens most times where there's a big prize pool only, is, people would like to see more women in it. But there's also like arguments of other things, like BIPOC community being in more people from the BIPOC community, or other communities as well. I think that when creators specifically host tournaments, they more lean towards inviting the people that are close to them, the people that they know and respect, and they don't typically go out of their bubble. And I don't blame creators for not going out of their bubble. Like, whoever makes a tournament is entitled to invite who they want, in my opinion. That's just how I see it. Like, for example, why would I skip over Bree, who I love very much, to invite someone that I don't know? Like, does that make sense?
100%.
So that's how I kind of see tournaments like that. But on the flip side, you asked, is there like a huge skill difference? I mean, there is a bit of a skill difference, but team deathmatch is different than BR, right? Like, I feel like there could have been plenty of people that are just as good as the people in the tournament or even better. But at the same time, like I said, people were inviting their friends. They weren't necessarily all inviting people who they thought were the best. Does that make sense? I don't think anyone was like looking at the woman of Apex and being like, they suck, I'm not going to invite them. But like for me, example, I didn't invite any woman, and I just took advice from two of my good friends who said these two are just as good as Guild and as Jem Burton, and I'm like, okay, and they really were. They really were. They proved it, and it's like a what do you call it? Like how people get known, proving themselves. It's proving themselves. For me, I've been in Apex since day one. I don't know, the only person to solo to masters in one stream. Been in plenty of tournaments, so I kind of got recognition like that. Nick Merckx recognized my solo to masters. We ended up playing together. I play in his lobbies, so I've killed him. He's killed me. We've become like, friend. Well, I don't know if I would say friends, but like I know him. So I think he had that respect for me to invite me. And I like that I earned it and wasn't just like thrown in like with the wolves and just like not knowing him at all. But yeah, I think like that's a nice thing to have earned the spot. And I think there's not only women, but there's a lot of people in the Apex community that are underrated. And there's only so many spots. There's 20 captain spots. Like you can't really I'm sure this guy, Nick Merckx, one of the biggest streamers on Twitch, knows more than 20 people. So I don't know. I wouldn't be too hard on him. Now that there's private lobbies, you can make your own tournaments, right? There are plenty of tournaments for everyone. There really are. There, Mina, she hosts BIPOC tournaments. There's like the women's leagues. There's plenty of tournaments for everyone. And I think like in a perfect world that we would see more women in those tournaments. Like if, women go through a lot in gaming. Like we talked about the toxicity. Me personally, I didn't get affected by it, but that's because I'm like I said, I'm different than my brother. I just kind of like, I don't know, zone out of everything and just play the game. But not everybody does that, and that's okay. Some people do get affected by it, and they have to persevere and work through it. And it sucks. And it sucks for a lot of people out there. And like the women's league is really good to help people build up their skills. I read the Reddit post about this actually yesterday. But yeah, like if we do enough to help out the minority, they will one day eventually be there too. There's like physically there's nothing holding them back, but there are a lot of barriers, I guess. Yeah. Did I miss a question? I kind of just went on a rant.
No, I think that was great. I think you did extremely well. I think that was what people are wanting to hear. I mean, I really do. And it's great to hear it from your perspective, right? I mean, you are known for being like one of the best female gamers in Apex. Like, there's no doubt.
I think there are other girls that could have done better than me. I just want to put that out there. But it's not like only skill. It's also connections. It's
Right.
also making yourself known and stuff like that. And I think I put in the time personally. Like I think one of my biggest attributes is I've been there since day one, and I think I have over 10,000 hours of Apex, and majority of that streamed. So that's but yeah, it's a lot of factors, and I wouldn't necessarily say like there weren't the other people weren't deserving. It's just that there's just so little slots, and yeah.
That's okay. Well, I thank you for coming on and saying that. I mean, I think we really value your opinion, and I know others do too. So it's really great to hear. We can move on, and I know if Wyatt was here, I know one question that he would love to ask you, and that is, whenever you're playing competitive, what is your favorite map between World's Edge and Stormpoint?
So when I'm playing competitive, that's interesting because, to be honest, my highest rank was rank 36, and I got it in Stormpoint. So I haven't competed that much, I'm gonna be honest with you, in a little while, like a year, I feel like. So I feel like I got a lot to catch up on, but I don't feel very comfortable at all. Honestly, the map wouldn't matter. Having a drop spot would matter even more. If I had to 50-50 contest, I'd feel uncomfortable. When it comes to end zones and stuff like that, I feel like I have a kind of a good take on both maps because I grind rank so much. Stormpoint is maybe less forgiving on rotation, and World's Edge, I guess there's more room for error. I'd probably be better on World's Edge, to be honest, just because World's Edge is, I guess, a more versatile map. Yeah,
that's probably accurate. Yeah, it's so crazy because we have so many different answers all the time, but I love hearing that. So how do you feel about like Broken Moon? Do you think Broken Moon would do decent in comp, or you think okay, no, not really?
I think any map could be fine for comp. It would just be a matter of the pros hating it or loving it. I think most pros would hate it. I just like, as a spectator, I like to see new things and new challenges. As a player, I would probably hate the amount of third parties. Like, you probably couldn't fight on that map, to be honest, because of the zip rails. But it would be interesting to see. Personally, that's what I think.
Sweet. Well, that's great to hear. And then he would probably ask, like, I'm trying to think. I'm trying to get into the mind of Wyatt, our casual king. That's what we call him. He self-proclaims that. He says casual king. So I'm not making fun of him.
So like casual in Apex or casual just?
No, he's casual in Apex.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Very casual. Like, he is our casual representation on the pod.
On the podcast. Yeah, he's the one. I mean, he's described himself like he loves playing Ashe, and he'll pick up like 5 different ulti excels because I can't remember.
To loot. He said to loot.
Yeah, he want. Yeah.
He would use the.
I'm glad he's taking the day off.
Exactly, and I was like, Bangalore, smoke, loot, and he was like, oh, that would work.
Yeah, that's probably.
Yeah.
He saw it, but I can promise you, he bought the heirloom. He bought the Ashe heirloom, no doubt. He's committed.
Oh yeah.
But he would then ask, like, okay, if you were to put one map in, what would it be? And like, say, instead of World's Edge, like, say they took World's Edge out, what map would you want in there?
So it would be between Kings Canyon and Olympus because, in all honesty, they gave us Broken Moon for so long that I think everyone's even still recovering from it. Uh, so yeah, so my chat, we played custom lobbies today, and they all really like Olympus the most. I think no, Kings Canyon actually had the most votes in the beginning. Kings Canyon, then Olympus. So Kings Canyon, terrible for competitive, I would say. Olympus, I think Olympus might be also doable. I pick Olympus as my final answer.
And so, out of all of the different metas that you've seen throughout your comp career and playing in it and casting it, which has been your favorite? And I'll even go a little bit deeper. Which was your favorite as a player, and which was your favorite as a caster? And then
As a
also
player,
least favorite for both.
Okay, so as a player, definitely like the beginning of Apex Legends, the Watson, Pathfinder, Wraith, best hands down. My least, wait, there was like four answers that I'm supposed to answer. My least favorite, best. Wait, what are the 4 questions?
Okay, so favorite as a competitor, favorite as a caster, least favorite as a competitor, least favorite as a caster. Or you can do it in any order that is most comfortable for you.
Thank you. So my favorite as a competitor is definitely the Watson, Pathfinder, Wraith. My favorite as a caster, honestly, I liked Caustic Meta. I did. Maybe we should cut this out.
We're gonna need a breakdown. We don't have to cut it out, but we're gonna have to have a breakdown as why Caustic is your favorite. We just gotta get some insight.
For sure. And then my least favorite as a player was honestly when Stormpoint came into the mix. What was the meta then? Oh, the Seer meta. Just the Seer meta was pretty wasn't fun. And my least favorite as a caster, I mean, I think I only casted 1 year, but I mean, I also casted PlayStation series as well. Least favorite as a caster, it would probably be the older meta where things are just very slow in the beginning. So if I did cast back then, I would probably have not liked it as much because it's more fun as a caster for there just to be action, something to cast over. But that's just in a perfect world, and in a BR, there's not always action. Yeah,
and that's, I feel like it is so impressive for the people that are broadcasting for the beginning of the games. Like realistically, from like if there's not a contest at all as a spectator, like as a you're supposed to be casting over gameplay, but it's like all these people are looting and getting beacon scans, and it's like, okay, well, like what are you supposed to do? But I do think they have kind of progressed in that area. I really do. Like I think everybody's kind of gotten better from the broadcast when it comes to like that in particular, because it is hard. I mean, it's hard. You're casting nothing pretty much. You're casting looting. So like, how do you make that interesting? And I think that they've done a progressively gotten better at doing that. So I love hearing that. Okay. We are going to do a segment called Double Tap where I ask you 5 statements and then you have 1 word to describe that statement.
Okay.
All right, you ready? Mm-hmm. Number 1.
Wait. Do I answer really fast, like top of my head, or do I have...
First thing that comes to mind in 1 word. Ready? Okay. Number 1, Horizon.
No.
No.
Great.
Number 2.
Great word.
Apex Legends ranked.
Is that a word?
That can be
We
a
can
word
count
if
it.
you wanted
We can
to.
count it.
Number 3, ALGS spectating.
I don't got words. I got emotions.
You can say your emotion.
I like spectating. I love spectating near the end, and in the beginning is not my favorite.
Gotcha.
I'm just a very, I like my action. Like I was telling you guys, I don't like hearing the background story. I like seeing the skill forming and plans coming into fruition. So yeah, that's just me.
Definitely more than one word, but we'll allow it.
Well,
We'll
that
allow
was
it.
a-
Wait.
No, you're okay.
I'll think
That
of a
was
word.
so
I'll think
good.
of a word.
I think we got your sound
Cool.
at the beginning.
Okay, number 4, World's Edge.
Yeah.
Number 5, L-Star.
Outdated.
Ooh, wow, I like that. That's good.
I
You
used to
nailed-
like the L-Star a lot.
Was it during the L-Star meta? Like, is that when
Yeah.
you liked it? You remember how gross that meta was?
I just
That
lost
was-
it. It was one of my
Dude.
least enjoyable times.
I still have a picture where this was like the old Liquid roster when I was playing competitive. I died by Fun, Flanker, and Knock, I think. And I died so fast, I thought I got shot by a Kraber. They just they 3-2-1 me with an L-Star, and I looked at my kill feed, bro, like my recap, and it was just L-Stars everywhere. And it was disgusting. And it was the crazy thing is, dude, the UI, like you get shot by it and it's just red and
The
pink
flashbang.
screen.
You
Dude,
can't. You
it's-
just can't even see the person shooting at you because it's just a red light.
Yep. That was
Okay.
fun meta. Yeah.
What is your favorite gun to use right now, girl? I remember you for the longest time. I would always like. I would say the R301 was like your gun for so long, or at least in my head. That's how I've always, even whenever we played back in the day with Cujo, if you remember that. That
Yeah.
was so long ago.
Cujo the God.
Yeah, this is absolutely legendary. What gun do you rock right
R301
now?
was, yeah. Okay, now I remember. That was a long time ago. That was R301, yeah, because I remember I couldn't use the R9 because actually in the beginning of Apex Legends, I started playing with 1800 DPI and 5 cents. So the R9 would have just didn't hit. So the R301 was good. But right now, I would say I like the R99 the most. It's got to be the R9. Yeah. I go through phases. Okay, I had a huge phase last split with the Sentinel. I would just play Pathfinder Sentinel. But yeah, I'm playing a lot of TDM right now, so R99 is probably my favorite.
Love that. E, do you want to hit her with your question?
Yeah, so the question that I ask absolutely everybody who comes on the show, because everybody that we have the pleasure of being able to interview, we are talking to people who are at the top 1% of the field that they have spent their career building. And I always love finding out what their advice would be to others. And so the question is, what is one piece of advice that has allowed you to get to the level that you've gotten to in both gaming and content creation that somebody could apply to whatever they were chasing after as their desired field, and something that like could carry over and isn't just defined in just gaming?
Some piece of advice that could carry on to anyone, and that's for their career.
Whatever passion that they were like seeking to become the top
The
1%
best
in. Yes.
Oh, that's tough. That's tough because, so the way I did it, I grinded really hard, and it's, in this day and age, you don't want to be like, hey, you gotta do that for 12 to 17 hours a day and make it, because life can go into a dark place if you do that. Man, so okay, that's hard. That's hard. Like for me, it's if you genuinely like it, do it. That's kind of what brought me this far. I genuinely liked Apex this whole entire time, even through cheater seasons. I'm actually just starting to get my burnout now in ranked because the DDoSing is worse than the cheating, in my opinion. But oof. Okay, that's tough. Like what piece of advice could I give to someone through life? I feel like I had something for this at some point, but now that you're putting me on the spot, my mind's going blank. Uh advice for someone going through. All right. Okay. So, as long as you improve a little by little each day and you're improve, but what if it's their passion? Yeah, I think it would be is it incremental definition, relating to or denoting an increase or addition. Yeah, if you're improving in increments each day in a year, you're going to be so good. I guess that's my advice. Stay genuine, stay passionate.
Beautiful answer.
I do love that. It is so fun to think about. I mean, it's great advice. Because think about getting it's the 1% better every single day, right?
Mm-hmm.
After 100 days, then you're 100% better. So, like, it really is just taking it little by little, taking that step to improve in any way that you know how. So, I love that advice, and thank you for giving it, and thank you once again for coming on. I mean, and making time out of your day, and even taking a power nap for this. We really do appreciate you coming on and just being so open and honest and just being an amazing guest. So we appreciate you and thank you for doing this with us.
Thank you for having me. I had a really good time, and don't worry about it. When I tell people I'll show up, I usually show up. Usually, not 100%, but I like to stay true to my word as much as I can.
Wow, that is once again that's another thing that she like you could add on to like her advice thing, like showing up whenever you say that you're going to show up is insanely good. So
Showing
once again,
up.
oh wait,
Yeah.
what's your Twitter? Well, yeah, what your all that your socials and stuff.
My Twitter is twitter.com/heygirl, GuhRL. Same for my TikTok, it's Hey Girl. Instagram, it's Hey Girl. Twitch and YouTube, it's just Girl, GuhRL. And I'm almost at 200,000 followers on Twitch. So if you have a minute and you have a Twitch account and you are interested in checking out the channel, there's a little introduction video on there too. So just
go and follow it. If you're listening to this podcast right now, go and follow if you aren't already. But once again, thank you, girl, for coming on, and we hope to have you on again.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'll be glad to come back. And thank you to the viewers that are listening as well. Thank you for your time, everyone.
All right. Big shout out to Girl for hopping on the pod and saying what's up. It's nice to hear her story, and hopefully we can have her back on in the future and see if maybe we get more of a prominence in the women's scene, because that would be better for everybody involved. Can't wait to see what she does in the future. Boys, let's talk about Realm a little bit here. It's been popping off on Twitter a little bit. It's an interesting concept, an interesting idea, and I'm not going to lie to you, I don't fully grasp it. I don't have the full grasp of exactly what it is, but you can follow Realm at the Realm_GG on Twitter. And bio here, enter the Realm and elevate your esports experience. Pro League automated matchmaking in Apex. Join Discord, and then it has the link right there. But yeah, Finn, if you want to help everyone understand a little bit more about what exactly Realm is and then get into your thoughts, I want to hear it. Go for it.
Okay, well, I did play in them today, which is funny because they were the first day. I got vouched in by Stunny. Shout out Stunny, love that guy. But what it is essentially it's like a private custom lobbies, and essentially you have to be vouched in by either people that are on like a council for North America or EMEA, and it's kind of it is sort of gate kept. It is gate kept, but it basically allows what it is like a ladder. So we actually had Nasky on and we asked him about the preseason one. They had a preseason tournament to kind of see how things would shake up, to kind of test this, what they're doing right now, which is the Realm like seasons. This is like technically chapter 1 or season 1 or whatever they're calling it. But it's like ALGS where you join into, let's just, you go into a voice chat on Discord, and then it will randomly select you with 2 other people, and so then you'll be filled out into 20 teams, and they'll give you a lobby code, and you join the lobby, and then you join that team, and then you pick your where you're landing and all that sort of stuff. But it's ranked on steroids. It's basically season 13, like what we were talking about, mixed in with ALGS, because it is custom. But you can have somebody who was a predator, North America predator, wasn't super popular or whatever. They get on a team like randomly picked with Sweet, and then they pop off, right? And then that would give some notoriety. So this is really just an awesome showcase of being able to display some talent of people that may not be super known. And one of the bigger things, and I think one of the best things about it, is that there is like a ban list. So if you're a well-known cheater or people that know that you cheat, like there will be like voting on it and they will kick you out of it. So it's kind of like ranked, but I keep referring to it. It's kind of like ranked because it is. It's kind of like ranked in ALGS mixed into one, but it is usually like tier 2 or high ranked predators or pro league players all into one same queue, then randomly getting onto a team, and then you play from there, figuring out your team comp and all kinds of stuff. But it's really, really fun. I played 2 games today during my lunch break. I costed both games because I am rusty as all could be, but it did bring back the memes of how much I absolutely love competitive, and it brought back a little bit of fire. So I know that those people that maybe got tired of playing ranked were kind of hit with some passion today, I think, with Realm scrims. But shout out to my teammates today that were super nice after I costed. But I did get I think I got a 12th place, and then I got a 5th place. So not bad, not great. If I could do it over again, I would. But I'm excited for people like E to get involved, to kind of showcase, hey, this guy can shoot. He would be a phenomenal competitive player, and he knows exactly what he's talking about. I also would love to see Wyatt play in these. I think that would be fun. But anyway, that's what I've got on Realm. I don't know. It's pretty much a competitor sort of to Apex right now. Apex is ranked system, and so I'm interested to see what the climate will be for Apex, specifically competitive, besides ALGS.
I did not play in the first day, as I'm going to be taking a fairly good amount of time off this next week leading into next week, with Paysock coming up. So I didn't think it was best for me to take spots when I'm not going to be playing the full time. But it is something that I am keeping an eye on. It looks like I had an immense amount of positive feedback, while at the same time also there being a decent amount of frustrating feedback, because any time where it's like this, where it's just solo queue and you're getting matched with different teammates, the quality of those teammates can really have an impact on what your day is looking like as a player. Because if you're somebody who got to play and you made it to top 5 most of your games, I'm sure you had a great day. You're like, man, Realm is the best. This was awesome. But there are also people out there who probably had more games where they didn't make it to the top 15 than they did make it to the top 15, and from somebody who is having one of those kind of days, and feels like they weren't like really put in positions to succeed, that can be super frustrating. Because man, if you're just sitting in a custom lobby game and you know that the next one's not starting until after the one, and you die early consistently, it is not a fun time. And so I think it's going to be awesome to see how this continues to grow and develop, and it's definitely something that at some point I plan on dipping my toes into. But I might have some other series. I'm thinking about doing a like solo to masters on every legend inspired by that boy Scrappy, because I think that would be like a really good like way to do content. And so like that's like the only thing like for when I get back that's like would keep me away from Realm. But overall, I think Realm is looking really really great. More positive feedback than negative feedback, and I think it's going to give a pretty cool opportunity for lesser known players to really showcase their skill in a much more even environment. Because it's less about who you know now. Like, yes, like there are certain players that got vouched to like get in while meeting other requirements, but once you get in there and you're able to you're on an even playing field as everybody else. It's just RNG and your ability to make the best of the situations you're given. And I think it'll help put some lesser known people on the map.
Yeah, I think Zara will vouch for me after our 1v1. So I'll be in there. I'll be in there chilling. Yeah, no, it's a very interesting concept. It's very cool. And I'm glad. I think one of the best parts about Apex has been that we have seen consistently when there's an aspect of the game that hasn't been getting kept up to par, I guess is a nice way of saying it. Other community members are like, fuck this, I'm going to try to make something on my own. And I think that's the sign of a good community, and somebody's trying something new. And I think it's always good to have something like that. We saw this with the R5 Reloaded. Unfortunately, that went away, but now we're seeing it with this. And I think it's going to be really cool. And I really love the idea of trying to get rid of the cheating aspect, which is obviously always going to be one of the biggest issues surrounding gaming. It's so hard to monitor with all the different equipment and just not somebody being there watching over your shoulder at all times. So, no, I think it's going to be really good for the community, and I can't wait to see the impact that it has. And hopefully, it'll light a fire under Respawn and Apex, and they can start seeing if we'll see what their answer to this is. I think healthy competition's healthy, keeps it good, keeps it flowing, keeps things moving in the right direction. Ladies and gents, we are going to send it on down into the heart to heart and send you guys into the rest of your week. Let's get it. All right, ladies and gents, it is heart to heart time. Heart to heart time. Does anybody want to go first? No? Nobody's trying to go first? All right, I'll say some. I'll say some real quick. Like I said at the beginning of the show, I went on the bachelor party. I think one thing I'm trying to I don't even know how to say it. One thing I'm trying to hold on to is knowing when the good times are happening right in front of you, because there's that phrase, it's like I wish I knew it was the good times when they were happening. And I wanted to soak it all in on this trip. You never know. It sounds like bad, but you never know when your final trip with all the boys is going to be. And I've had the same friends since I was 13. And we've all been doing this for so long, it feels like it'll never end. But that's not always how life works. That's not always the case. So I'm just trying to remember that any trip we go on could be our last trip together, and just trying to cherish every moment, have all the good times I possibly can, and it was awesome. It was a great time, and I'm just trying to hold on to stuff like that because these guys helped me out. They helped me get through some of the darkest times in my life, along with my family. So they are family at this point. So it's just yeah, that's my heart to heart this week, is try to capture the essence of what you're going through right now. Because sometimes you may feel like you're not in the best spot, and then a few years later, months later, weeks later, you look back and be like, damn, I wish I could go back to that. So just try to cherish everything and look at it with a positive light. They won't always be the best moments, but if you look at it positively, you'll always be able to pull something positive from it. So that's my heart to heart this week. Having a great time with the fellas. Who wants to go next?
Okay, I will say it's funny because we just talked about Realm, but I think there is a little bit of me that I realize, like, man, like in order to keep up with like the pro stuff, like there's just so much respect. I know we usually keep these away from Apex, but I think today I was just more so just reminded that the people at the top of like playing Apex like for a living, the pros, like the top people, are so good at their craft. And I think it's okay for me to, get destroyed today, because it's like, man, those people are just putting in so much effort, so much time. And I think what I am trying to say is like, it's okay to let go of things that, you know, even though you love them and are passionate about, like, it's okay to be like, okay, I'm not as good as I once was. I don't know what song that is. I think it's a country song, but uh it's okay to not be as good as you used to be in things. And I think accepting that is sometimes hard, because I think ego gets in the way. I think that does for me, if I'm being honest. And so uh I still love competing and all that sort of stuff, but I think today just kind of made me realize and respect the pros, like kind of a reminder of more respect that I have for them. So maybe not necessarily super deep, but that's something that I've taken away from today and this week.
Beautiful. Enoch.
That is so tragic. Dude, I mean, I honestly just feel like it's the same stuff that I've really just been focusing on lately, of just like choosing to be happy throughout all of it. Cause like, and I guess something to go along with that is just not allowing what may appear as uncertainty to waver all the certainty I have on where I'm going. And so that way, when I approach things from the position of like, okay, I already know how that this is going to eventually end up working out for me, and that it's going to be good. Let's figure out what that is, instead of being like, oh, like, could this be it? Do I need, like, what are we going to do? Like, what's going on? And then like trying to figure it, like thinking about it just from a lot more negative perspective. And I think that the more you focus on looking at things from a positive perspective while doing the best you can to make things work, that's just the best way to go about doing it. And so I just want to enjoy the process as much as I can, and be okay with not doing everything as fast as I in my head envision. Because like, I'll be honest, dude, because like when I have tried like incorporating and doing and adding more things into my life and grow and expand as a person, it never quite ends up going like the way that I'd want it to, just because it's like you do one thing for so you do like some things for so long, and then adding in like multiple other things can make it difficult to stay on top of everything. And I haven't been able to get almost any of the stuff done that I've wanted to in the time frames that I've wanted to, but I just need to be thankful that I am having this like expansion of my person and like the things that I'm doing. And like with one of them being like the course that like I was talking about, which I'd wanted to have out by now. Life happens, doing something new, it's not always going to work out the way it's supposed to, but that's okay. And so just enjoying the whole process, the whole step, and not tweaking out over the little things, and just celebrating the progress that I'm making instead of looking at it from like, why haven't I done more? And it's just all about shifting my perspective into one that's healthier, and yeah, that's just, I guess, the throw up of my heart to heart.
It's beautiful every time, though. It's beautiful every single time. And yeah, no, I think everybody feels a little bit of what you just said, and so to hear it reciprocated is all the help that somebody could ask for. Just to know that they're not alone in stuff. There's a lot of content creators out there who going through the same stuff. So, always beautifully said, Enoch. Boys and girls, that should just about round out the show. Don't forget to click the link down below where you can go through all of our social medias and follow along with all of our other endeavors and projects and keep up with the Apex podcast because we are always here, always ready, and we've got ALGS action coming up soon. And in the meantime, we'll be answering your questions about it on the other shows. So thank you guys for tuning in. As always, click that link down below. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll catch you guys next week. See you.